Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Poker Showdown, brought to you by Party Poker. I'm your host, Jaime Staples. This week, we have the legend of the game on the podcast, ElkY, coming off a fantastic result at Millions UK, where he finished runner-up in the mini main for 94,000. So that was really cool, and I just talked to him about his long poker career. I mean, ElkY was a guy that I looked up to at the beginning of my poker career. He had a book out there that was like the gold standard for playing good tournament poker. And I get to talk to him today, 10 years later after I started this game. So amazing. It was a great conversation, and that's coming up a little bit later in the show. But let's kick off with some of the online poker news, some of the industry news, some of the live poker news. We've reworked the format a little bit to make it a little bit smoother off the top. So let's get into it. Let's kick off with some of the online poker news from this past Sunday. Johannes Corsair, known as Greenstone25, took down an event on PokerStars this past Sunday, just before conquering the 530 buy-in high roller phase 200K guaranteed final on Party Poker only a few hours later. So a massive 1-2 punch there. Brace of wins takes the Swede past 14 million in online lifetime earnings. Damn, that's a lot. Congratulations to Johannes Corsair. Next up, we had a Party Poker final table with two Party Poker team pros. Scotland's Ludovic Gaelic, known as Gravy Boat, finished 6th place for 8,500, and teammate Renato Nomura finished 5th place for 11,770. So congrats on the double FT there to a couple teammates. Moving on to industry news now, we have Lynn Gilmartin, who was inducted into the Australian Poker Hall of Fame. Lynn Gilmartin, I remember her from watching live reporting about the World Series of Poker when I was just getting into it. It was her, Christy Arnett, and Sarah Herring. They were like the power three that reported the news. I loved it. It was great stuff. It's good to see that she was inducted into the Australian Poker Hall of Fame. Only the second female inducted after Marcia Wagoner. Gilmartin hit the headlines again recently thanks to her charitable efforts in support of those affected by the Australian bushfire that ravaged her home country. Crown Resorts, hosting the annual Aussie Millions, has already pledged 5 million Australian to the appeal, with the poker community also chipping in with contributions. Double bracelet winner Cale Burns was also inducted by Joe Hashim into the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to him as well. Moving on to some of the live poker news now. Party Poker Live announces the launch of Millions Super High Roller Series Sochi, held in partnership with Triton Poker and Poker Central. The High Stakes Festival is going to take place from March 6th to 15th at the Casino Sochi, featuring buy-ins from $25,000 all the way up to $250,000. The 250K Super High Roller Bull Russia also set to debut at the event. All 8 events are going to be streamed on PokerGo. There's a host of big-name high rollers expected for the festival, including Rob Young, Paul Foy, Richard Young, Kerry Katz, Team Party Poker Pro Jason Kuhn, and the Team Online Mikita Mikita, I can't say your last name, man. It's so hard. Mikita is going to be there, man. All right, so get ready for that coming up in March. Michael Adamo denies Kerry Katz heads up to win Aussie Millions 50K challenge for Australian $1 million. Win was about $738,000 US to Adamo at the Crown Casino. Katz took $492,000, for second place. The top 10 featured a host of familiar names, including Team Party Poker Pro Kristen Bicknell, 10th place for $81,000, Sam Greenwood in 4th place for $273,000, and Eric Seidel for $136,000. How crazy is it Eric Seidel is still out there killing it, man? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there's no reason that he shouldn't be, but he was another one of those guys that was just like the mainstay, top of the game when I got into it, and he's just still out there playing super high rollers. What a beast. I'd love to... Eric Seidel, can you please come on my podcast? I'd love to talk to you because I don't know very much about you other than you just win every tournament, and I want to pick your brain. Please, this is a call to Eric Seidel. Okay, let's move on to the Party Poker news now. So Party Poker introduced King of the Hill for heads-up cash games, designed to help improve the cash game ecology and optimize playing experience for heads-up cash game players. What this means is basically when you're sitting at a table, you can't just sit and see 100 heads-up tables, right? That's not very fun for someone that just wants to play heads-up for fun. It's not very fun for professionals either to just have an equal chance of maybe someone will sit down and play with me. So there's a limited amount of tables, and you have to fight for the table. You have to play each other and win the table, and this spurs on more action. If you want to play at all, you're going to have to play to reserve a seat at the table. So players may now only wait at a maximum of one table of a certain configuration at any given time to encourage action. But if you're playing heads up with someone, there's actually a button that appears in the top left corner, which allows you to open another table against them. So if you have a really good war going on, I mean, I'm not good enough to play like 4 heads up tables, but we all know the legendary stories of like Isildur and Dur and Patrick Antonius playing, 3 heads ups at the same time. You can click the button in the top left and open additional tables so that you can get a multi-table war going with one opponent. And that does not affect the King of the Hill system. So I think really exciting for heads-up players. This is some news for me. I'm really excited about this. The dates for the next KO series, the next knockout series, have been announced. February 2nd to 16th, the series is going to return with a 10 million guarantee. So progressive knockout style, all the tournaments within this series are going to be knockouts. Of course, there's regular tournaments on the side as well, but these are sort of special knockout events. Party Poker continues to waive the fee on the bounty element of PKO buy-ins, meaning even greater value for players. That is the line that I'm reading here on the overview. But yeah, not a lot of people know that actually, that it's half rate compared to some of the other sites out there. If it's an $11 tournament, it's $10.50 plus 50 cents, whereas the other sites will charge $10 plus $1. So that's a huge effect on your chances of success as a poker player, or if you're a professional, your profitability in general. So really good value event, February 2nd to 16th. I know Party Poker Team Online is going to be out there playing it, so really looking forward to seeing you all on the felt, and I'm going to get a title. Let's do it. So that's it for the news today. We're going to launch into the interview with ElkY now. As I mentioned, an absolute legend of the game, a 2-time bracelet winner, was the first to achieve Supernova Elite status, actually, back when PokerStars used to have that status, which is an incredible feat of just volume. And he was clearly ahead of his time, being the first to actually successfully do that in the program. So a guy that's been known for his StarCraft prowess, a guy that's been known as a World Series of Poker bracelet winner, a guy that's been known to be able to 24 table at the same time, and a guy that is now known for spanning a 15 or 20-year career and still competing at the top of the game. It's just incredible. So a great honor to interview ElkY. Joining me on the podcast today, all the way from Prague in the Czech Republic, I have ElkY, and a legend of the game. ElkY, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Hey Jimmy, how are you, man? Good to be here.
I'm great, man. Yeah, this is good. I'm really excited to get to talk to you today. I've known you personally for I don't know, 4 or 5 years or so. So when I was first kind of getting into being a more well-known pro, I used to talk to you and sort of seek your guidance in some things. So it's interesting that we get to talk a couple years down the road now that we're both on Team Party Poker. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome to be back in the same team. I can't remember when I started streaming. I think that was like 2015, right? I think beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
Those were good times actually. I kind of miss it still, but.
The streaming, yeah. I want to talk about that for sure. But let's start with your recent poker success. I have written down here, I had to write it down because there's so many notables I have to point out here. You won the World Series of Poker Europe Colossus for 190,000 euros. This is your second bracelet just this past summer, right?
Yeah, that one was the sickest actually.
Congratulations.
2,700 players, you enter and you never think you're gonna win, and
what a sick tournament too. Like it's not it's not a 100-person field. It's like a massive field event. So that's so cool.
It's insane,
Yeah. Second place last week at the Millions UK in the mini main event for 93,000. So just coming off a big score there, and then also a runner-up finish at a high roller in Prague for 500,000 euros. This is all in the past 6 months. So I just wanted to sort of start off by saying, what is this run like, and sort of what has led to this surge of results over the last 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, it's like pretty insane, and like now I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot more than before, I guess, because I had like kind of a lot of dry period, and I kind of know how hard it is to get this kind of success. But to be honest, it's mostly variance, I mean, of course I work on my game, but it's not like I do anything like vastly different from like 6 months earlier where I like didn't really win or perform like live poker tournaments, MTTs. The variance is like pretty insane, and I think a lot of people, they kind of underrate it,
Yes.
Like the pros don't so much, but like for like observers and people outside, they're like, oh my god, you're like playing so well, you're in a rush. But I'm like, you play a little better when you're like doing good, obviously, but it's not like I'm playing like 10 times better than 6 months before when
Right.
I picked 20 tournaments in a row. You know what I mean? It's like
You see that on Twitch all the time. I'm sure you remember where, whoever's on a heater that's streaming, all the people think, oh, they're the best player of all time, and
yeah,
then it'll switch a month later. Like, it's just like that in poker, isn't it?
yeah, for sure. It's like it's pretty tricky, I guess. So it's like so I try to do my best to enjoy it, making it last as long as possible and enjoying it while it lasts as well.
Right. So I don't mean to dwell on more negative times or anything like that, but before a streak like this, how do you prepare for multiple years of your career where sometimes you may not have any wins or any big results in a given year? What's your strategy for sort of bridging the swings of poker?
Yeah, it's always really hard, man. It's like I guess experience helps a lot, and I kind of know I've had a lot of success before as well. So and knowing the part of the variance as in the game. So what I like to do is like kind of to focus on things where there's like less variance to like physical activity and like training and diet, basically like zero variance, right? If you do well,
Right.
you're gonna get progress, and if you like do bad, so these things, and also like meditating and trying to like keep the bigger picture in mind, but it's always much easier said than done, and like I think everyone is kind of different in that regard as well. So it's like,
Yes.
I guess the hardest thing is like when you run bad, and sometimes you're like, I don't know, you don't feel as playing as much, and like it's always really hard to play your best game when you're like on a like kind of like a dry run, and you're like, it's I mean, you can try the best you can. Basically, I think it's also like where it matters the most. So what's motivating is like, I think it's like where most of the difference is like the mental skill set, and like how good you can still play when you're like not running well. I mean, everybody, like when you run really good and you win a tournament, it's like not usually.
It's easy.
Sometimes, I mean, it's always
That's the
hard.
easy
Obviously,
part.
you have to be lucky, but like when the cards are going your way, it's like not that a lot of hands. It's like easy decisions. You get like a top hand and you get shoved on with like the nuts. Or every time you get like you could up people. It's not that, those are not the hard part, but when you're like running bad and you have difficult decision, is actually where it matters the most, and where it's gonna be a bigger difference in your EV, and what's gonna like also I think it's where you separate like the best player from like the really good player, because
Right.
if you like this about like, instead of playing your like B or C game when you run bad, just play like, I don't know, maybe A minus or B sometimes. Even B game when you run really bad, it's still not that bad, So I think like that's also what's motivating as well.
That's really interesting you point that out, because it's true. I think any pro would tell you, like, right, all of these matter equally over time. But when I'm playing, at least, it certainly doesn't feel like that. It feels like the important moments are the all-ins at the final table, when in reality, often those decisions are played out. So I think that's a really good reminder and something really interesting to think about for aspiring poker pros out there.
Yeah, also like usually like when you like, when you have tough decision, it's kind of like obviously it's important to win the ace king against queens, but it's not like you can do anything about it, so you kind of have to focus on the hands you have control over, and a lot of time you're put in bad spots which are really like crucially important, and like you really have to like, I don't know, like kind of like separate yourself from it, and like and not like I don't know, not let the like recent plays or recent hands affect you much, because I think that's where the most important part is. It's like when you have like actually tough decision where it's gonna make a difference, or when you have like tough decision when you've been running pretty bad, it's like not always great, but that's where like that's what matters the most, I think, in the long run.
Yes. Yeah. No, I hear you. Were you able to detach, the results and the poker results from like your personal self-worth always throughout your career? That's something that I've definitely struggled with. And I remember early in my career, like if I had a bad day on the felt, I was having a bad day after as well. Whereas I've seemed to develop better habits. You talk about like nutrition and exercise, something you can control 100%. When did you develop the skill to sort of detach poker and life?
I mean, I think it's also always gonna affect to some extent, but like, I mean, this is the same day, it's always gonna affect a little bit. But usually, if I like get a good night's sleep, and kind of feel like it's a reset, and then like I mean, it's some skills that you acquire over the long run as well, and just like, yeah, I think even though it affects a little bit all the time, it's like it's important to detach yourself, and then like as much as we love the game of poker, there's not only there is more to it than the game, but also it's like, I mean, like especially MTT players, I think we don't have that much control over like our short-term results.
Yeah.
They're like the variance is so high, and it's like I used to be like, when I win tournament and I went good, I'm like, I feel like great and I'm on top of the world, and then I have a bad streak and like, everything is the worst. But I was like that at the beginning of my career as well. But then I don't know, I guess to get a bit wiser with time, and like you just realize that like it's not really like I don't know, it's not a healthy way to live, and it's not optimal for the long run either. So that's but I'm still improving, and it always affects, like when you bust tournament, it always feels the worst, man, especially online is terrible, and live is like the worst. Like when you run deep and you've been playing for 2 or 3 days, like,
and you got to walk between the tables.
It always feels terrible,
Oh man, yeah, it is terrible. It is one of the worst feelings possible. So when you were sort of earlier in your career, I'm really fascinated because you're one of the longest careers of people I know in poker. Like I can remember when I first started playing, seeing you on televised games and like hearing about your book and wanting to learn from you. And now here I am 10 years later, and like I'm talking to you on a podcast, which is really crazy. So I'm interested in how things have changed in your poker life and in the game of poker in general. So like in those early successes where you were having $1 million, $2 million scores sometimes, do you have any stories of like your confidence getting crazy, or like just where you had to really rein it in? Like what was your thoughts when you won the PCA, for example, for like a massive amount of money? Like how was life for the 3 months after that?
Yeah, I was definitely on like really high on life. It was my first big win, and like everything was like, I don't know, everything was like going well, and I was like on a heater. I was playing well. Like I don't know, everything was aligning. So it was definitely like really great. And the first big tournament win is always like, it's always something special. It's hard to say how great it was. And especially the first win in this kind of event. The biggest PCA at the time, and like how many players was there? Like I think 1,200 players.
Something like that.
I think 1,200 players, something like.
Yeah.
Something insane. So but I mean, I still busted quite a bit. Every time I was busting a tournament after, I was like, how can I bust a tournament? I was like playing every tournament for like next 2 years, and I was like thinking I'm gonna win it. And it worked for a while though. But of course, like the game was like much easier back then as well. Like I think PCA, I never see every tournament I won. I win like God, but like PCA, I win like insane. And I think like after the same year I won the WPT in Bellagio, and this one obviously I went like God, but I also played much better. I think like I was like,
right. Do you think that's a good thing if you could like exchange what you know about poker now for back then, just like that confidence that maybe wasn't justified? Would you take it back?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be confident, but like there's like a very thin line to walk. You want to be like really confident and make the best play, but sometimes like being overconfident is also like, we all see that guy, who's been winning every pot, and then he's just like bluffs it off in the worst spot ever. And
yes.
we all been there too sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're like crushing the table and like dominating, but there's like, it's always like this like one pot that you like fuck up, and you're like, this one spot that you think you can take every single spot. And like I think back then also it worked a lot more than nowadays. Like back then people's knowledge, they were not the same as it is now, so you could definitely like abuse them a lot more. And there's like some spots like much more spots that you could take more often. And like nowadays you kind of have to be more careful, because people know, like they just know like the ranges and everything, and like, much everybody is much better, even the amateur, the pros, obviously they're all really good, but like even the like casual players, recreational players, they study the game, and they've been like having so much content, they have so much content, and they have so many years of experience as well. So everybody is like pretty good now. So it's especially online is very sick. Live you still have like, I think you still can find more edge against the players. live, but it's tough. So it's like I think it's I don't know. It's pretty tough, and like I think like if you like it's always good to be confident, but yeah, there's a quite a line, and you don't want to be like overconfident and like spew like that's like when you make the
Right.
biggest spew actually.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So going forward now, pretty far into your career, I'm curious as to what do you shoot for in poker? Like, do you set yourself goals every year, or do you have some big tournament you want to win, or do you just like enjoy the process? So I wanted to ask you about goal setting.
I'm trying to enjoy the process more. I mean, it's good to set goals, but the problem with MTT is like you don't really want to set yourself goals, which
Yes.
like I want to win I've been wanting to win a set for 6 years, but it's not like the variance is so huge, and like of course I will dream of winning like a Party Poker Millions event, but there's like 6 a year, and it's like everybody wants to win one. It's like it's not so much correlated to the effort I put into. I mean, like so it's like not like I try not to set myself goals that way, I guess, and trying to like enjoy the process and be the best version of myself I can be every time. It's like most important. It's most important, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I always remember, previously when I would play in PokerStars events and now in party poker events, like even the Sunday Million online, I'm always conscious of like the extra value in winning a tournament. And for a guy like yourself, if you win a Party Poker Millions, like that's really valuable to you as like as a poker ambassador. Like that's something you can add on your resume that's really important. So I always think about just the bonus money on top for the few at the final table that can like take advantage of that. You know what I mean? The notoriety.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it used to be even more, I think, back in the days, and like more like when you could play online poker in the US, those were like the sick days, and I think like there was like also like more value in getting first as opposed to so you could be playing much riskier at the final table.
Did you spend any summers in Vegas where you would play online and play live and like do both?
Yeah, for sure. I was spending much more time in Vegas before. Actually, like just before Black Friday, sick. I was gonna like I just signed like to get an apartment in Vegas for like 6 months, and then I got Black Friday was like the months after, and then like that was terrible. Yeah, it was like I don't know. Like I really miss that when you could just play with everyone in the world, like from everywhere, and it's like be in Vegas, play online, and like be anywhere, play online with everybody. That's how it should be, and I think that's the thing which hurts like online poker the most, I think.
It really should, yeah, and it's such a shame it is the way it is right now. Let's talk about the poker industry a little bit. How do you feel we're doing as a collective? Poker is online poker, it's live poker, it's international. But how do you feel about the prospects of the poker world today?
I think it's like much more challenging than before, obviously, because when I first started playing poker, there was this huge boom for like pretty much until Black Friday. It was like rising, everything was getting bigger. You get always new players, and everything was so new, and also like the industry was like a lot of people. There were like a lot of people, or just like which is like a lot of entities, which is like pretty standard, I guess, for something new. They didn't necessarily have the experience, so basically you can just do anything, and then you will get like players, and everything was like working well. And then it like after Black Friday hit, it became like much tougher, obviously, and like especially like I think online became much bigger hurt for online than for live, obviously, because obviously Americans they can still play live, so it's like so it didn't impact the live scene or as much.
I remember a little boost actually just after Black Friday, because I remember all the Americans, it was right before the World Series, and they're like, well, I guess I'll just play the World Series and then I'll figure it out after that. So I remember that summer live was like particularly bumping. It was a big summer, so it's interesting.
Yeah, that was a huge one, but then like they were like, oh yeah, I ship something in Vegas. I don't have to move out of the country to do my job. That's like the worst. I should
Yes.
You have like.
Yeah. Did you have some money locked up at the time? Did you have a bunch of your net worth online like a lot of other people?
No, I mean I only had money on on stars, so I was safe. I was only playing there, and I was only allowed to play there, so that was a blessing, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
There was.
How about you?
It helped you out. I at the time had probably like a $10,000 net worth, and I had about 9,000 of it online. But I made it. Back then you could just fire up $2 sit and goes, and you could grind out like a couple $1,000 like pretty quickly, pretty easily. You just had to put in the volume and the time. So, but yeah, that was in my very early days of thinking I was a poker pro. I was figuring things out. So you come from an extensive gaming background as well. And I wanted to sort of bring that up because we have Twitch poker now, which is a big, focus of mine and I think the poker world's. And the crossover between poker and gaming is something that a bunch of people are trying to sort of connect continually for the health of the game long term. So you started in StarCraft and then transitioned to Hearthstone recently. I remember when you were playing a lot then. Do you see any similarities in regards to how people are coming up in those games today and how it works in poker? Like, could you draw some comparisons for me?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's like a lot of similarities between just StarCraft and poker. They're both games of like incomplete information. So like you kind of like you never know exactly what your opponent is doing in StarCraft. So you have to like guess with like the meta game, and you have to adapt and be ready for whatever option is gonna do, which is kind of like the same with poker in some way that you never see your opponent's whole card. All you can know is like how he's played before and what are most people likely to do in this kind of situation, and like and of course like there's a lot of mind games in both games, and I think like it's just like video games and poker, they just attract like similar kind of like players as well. Like a lot of like poker players, they like to play video game when they're to relax, and actually like a lot of like video game players, they like to play poker to relax.
Yes.
It's like really fun, like going to a lot of those gaming events, and like a lot of the gamers, they're like, oh yeah, let's play poker, and it's like for them it's like it's like super fun. I mean, it's also super fun for us as well, but when you're like, it's like our profession and our job, so it's not exactly the same, so when I want to relax, I play video games. When they want to relax, they play poker. So it's like so it's really cool, and I think there's like definitely a huge crossover, like I don't know if you remember like those sit and goes that we were like hosting with like the Twitch streamers, and all of them, they really love the game, and it was like, it's really exciting, and it's really fun to see them on stream and having a lot of fun, and it's really cool and refreshing, I think.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is. And the really unfortunate thing about streaming poker is the delay, which may not seem like a big deal to the viewer, but to a broadcaster on Twitch, it's just, and this, like it's so difficult to interact with a 4-minute delay. Like the conversation doesn't flow as much. And that's the one thing that really holds poker back in regards to streaming and sort of cultural relevance on Twitch, is that aspect. So
yeah, for sure. The delay is really tough for poker.
Yeah, it's tough to figure out, but maybe someone will figure out how time travel works. I don't know. So in terms of becoming elite at these games, because you were really, excuse me if I'm wrong, but I believe you were sort of famous for StarCraft before you were in poker. So what is the path like to becoming an elite level pro, in video games, Hearthstone or StarCraft, and poker? Like, is it the same sort of trajectory if someone watching this right now wants to make it to the top of the game? Is it similar?
It's quite similar. I mean, you have to spend like so many hours, it's different for everyone, obviously, but I could only do it because I was very passionate and I love like playing StarCraft as I love playing poker. So I spent like so many hours playing and practicing like always everyone, and like there are like a little bit different stuff. Like there's basically like almost no variance in StarCraft. So it's
Right.
like when I first transitioned to poker, it was rough, It's like, oh man, I'm playing really well. I'll go in with the best hand. I lose so many times. This is stupid.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also what makes the game so great. Is kind of, it's always like unexpected. You never know who's gonna win, and you have sick comebacks, and that's like, those things are like, I don't know, it's like really exciting, when you come back. And about comeback, actually, oh my god, there's this rule that they need to change. Actually, there's one rule that I hate so much. It's like, when you're like one when you have like in the big blind and you have to post the ante first, it's fucking brutal.
The
So
ante
you have
first.
like one big blind and you all in
Yeah.
on the big blind and you win a 6-way all in and you come back with one big blind. It's fucking brutal, man.
That's not good. Yeah, no, that's not
That's
good.
pretty
That's a
rough.
live
Because if you
poker
have one
thing,
big
though.
blind and you end up winning, it's like the sickest story ever. And it's
Yes.
already almost never happens, but like
The online we've got it sorted. I think.
online is like NT per player, right? So it's
Yeah.
like not the same. But live is pretty rough, dude.
I'm with you. I think that should be the ElkY rule. Like, leave the sick comeback as an option, and
Yeah, I
fix
mean,
it.
it's just like doesn't really matter for anyone else at the table that there's no NT
Yeah.
during a hand. It's not a big deal. There's no NT for one hand, right?
Yeah.
But if one guy wins a 6 ways all in and he finishes with the same as he started with, it's like fucking rough.
That's good, man. I like just add the sweat back in. Why not? They've got one big blind. They've got it tough enough. Give them the chance. I agree.
But yeah, trajectory is like it's similar, I guess. You know, you have to be passionate and you have to spend a lot of time practicing and like. I guess now it's slightly different because there's like so much more content and like you know, like when I was playing StarCraft, that was like at the very beginning. It was not even like replays within the game, so it was really sick actually. That was really hard because like you couldn't like. If we play against each other, you cannot watch the replay of the game, so you don't know what I've done, and it's like,
Right.
you have to like, and like, there was like not even observer mode. That was like the sickest part at the time, you know. So it was like, so when you play like a game, you have to like be friends with the people playing, and you like go in the game, and then you like observe like by being in the game, they share vision with you. That was the only way to know the secrets. That was like really sick. And in poker, it was like a little bit similar at the fact that at the beginning. Like there was like definitely not as much content, like not as much data available regarding like the ranges, GTO, and like the range, like pretty much every poker tool that we have now. Like
Yes.
Back when I started playing, you know, like people had no idea of like ICM and like all those things. It was just like totally like we had no idea what it was, you know, or like.
Do you think that's a problem? Because you can imagine what school of thought I'm from, in that like I publicize everything I do in poker. So like I'm very much pro like put it out there because it's gonna happen. But what do you think about there being 10 training sites and there being hundreds of Twitch streamers sharing their thoughts on poker and YouTube channels? Like, are you for it, or do you wish it didn't exist?
I mean, it was gonna exist eventually, anyways. You know, people are gonna get better. I think in pretty much like every field, every sport, or every like game, you can see like people like 10 years ago, they have no chance against players now, right? The generation, players always get better at every game. So it was like, I guess like the advent of internet, it just makes everything like so much easier to consume and to share now as well, you know. So it's like much, but I think that we were always gonna go that way. It might have taken longer or not, but if players wanting to put in the work, they would always like get better anyway. So I think it's good. I think it's good that there is more information available for everyone, you know, because then if you like passionate about the game, instead of like having to like, you know, before like be able to play online, even if you like really love the game, you have to play like so many live hands to get the experience you can get for like playing online. And now with like all those training sites, you can get this experience for like a fraction of the time as well. So it's I think it's good, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I kind of view it as a prisoner's dilemma, where it's just people are going to release information, they're going to sell it. You're not going to be able to stop all 20,000 good poker players in the world from giving out any secrets. So you might as well hop on the give out secrets train and maybe make a little bit on the side from it. That was always my perspective on the situation. So in a few conversations I've had on the podcast so far, people point out time. And I'm curious if, the time in, the dedication, the hours that you had to put in to get good. Do you think that's the most important metric to becoming successful at poker, time in? Or do you think like intelligence, for example, or patience, or natural ability at understanding humans, like if you had to pick one factor, what would be the factor for a poker player?
Oh, I mean, of course, time is important, but I don't know if it's the number one factor. You know, it also depends how you approach the game. Like a lot of players, they just play for fun and they play so many hours, but they just play the same as they played like 5 or 10 years ago, because for them it's not fun to like learn like like ranges to open with 20 big blind under the gun, and like the ranges of defense and like all those like shoving and calling ranges. It's not like fun for them. So they're not, even though they spend so many hours playing poker, they improve in some aspects that are like much more like fun for them to do, because
Yes.
So I don't know. So time is not necessarily the number one. It's also like how you spend your time and how you improve what you're like playing at a table and when you're like playing off the table. And even at the table, sometimes it's hard, like especially live, it's like so slow. It's like you kind of always want to check something on your phone, and it's
Yes.
difficult to. I try to stop myself from doing it too much, but it's like it's really hard sometimes when like.
Do you have a cutoff on days?
And it's
like day ones, are you just on your phone the whole time, and then like day two you tone it back, or like what's the phone policy you have for yourself?
I try to be on it less, like especially when I get deeper. I try to be not on it at all, but like it's tough. It depends. Like, I mean, sometimes I have things to do on my phone between the hands, but like it depends like how I feel like there's like good information. It's always better not to be on it, obviously, but it's also like if your table is breaking in like half an hour, it's like doesn't really matter that much to watch what's going on at the table. You're gonna be playing 15 hands. It's like unlikely. So it's but definitely it's better not to be on it much. But also it's like quite tiring if you focus really hard on it. Even live poker is kind of tiring. I don't know. It's because I'm old, but when you play poker for like 10 hours and you actually focused, it's like it's exhausting, man.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you, man. I think sometimes you gotta ease off.
That's one of the things. That's why late range players they get kind of a big edge, because like if you played like I don't know, if you play like 4 or 6 more hours less, like nowadays the days are not as long, but if the days are long and you like plays like 4 or 6 hours less than other guys, then you're like much less tired mentally, and you're like much likely to play better towards the end of the day. I think
Right.
Which is also why like I think that's like one of the underrated reason why people like late reg. Like obviously there's like more EV by late regging and stuff like that, and it's always like it's been like a big a hot take, I guess. What's your take on late registration and re-entries? I think re-entries is fine, but what they should do is they should limit the late reg period to some extent, because like if they late reg like only like I don't know like 4 or 6 levels, then it's not like people are gonna like go in blind for 10k to build a stack. That's not what pros do. People think they're like we go in blind to build a stack, and then like
no, I think it's a really difficult question, because I hear it all the time in my Twitch channel. People saying, if I see late registration that's too long, I just won't enter. I don't think that really happens as much live, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like in live poker people care about how long the late reg. Is that fair? Do you think?
Some people care, but usually not so much. I mean,
it's just online when you can see like, oh, there's 4 hours of late reg. That means I'm going to be playing for like 8 hours. Like, I'd rather just play something else that's a lot faster. It makes it apparent. So for me, I think.
Well, that's because of the structure of the tournament, though. It's not really the late reg, right? I mean, like they just see the time the tournament's gonna take by the longer the late reg period, obviously. But it's not that they're not entering just because like they're not playing the tournament because they can late reg later, or people are because they're firing many more times. They're just not entering because it's gonna take longer, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I love to late reg. Personally, I think it's really great. I love to hop in with like 20 blinds and spin it up or I'm dead. And when I used to play a lot of live, I would hop in like 2 hours before the first day dinner break. So I'd get 2 hours of play, a dinner break, and then like 2 hours of play, and then I'm done. So it was like a nice chill 4 hours, like you wake up late. So I'm in favor of late reg, but I think you got to do whatever you got to do for the amateur player. In terms of re-entries, which is a completely different thing, and it was one of my questions that I wanted to follow up on. For me personally, I think main events should generally not be re-entry because they're meaningful. I think if you're talking about a 25K side event or a 10K side event, I think those are all about the money. At least that's the perception I have. So if it's about the money, let people re-enter as much as they want. That's kind of where I draw the line.
I think it's not that different though, the re-entry and the late reg, because like people can re-enter so many times because they let the late reg open so late, right? So it's like if you only let the late registration for like let's say like 4 hours on day one, and at the end of late reg the starting stack is like 60 blind or something. It's like not that many people are gonna re-enter because you need to get cooler or you need to be like play super aggressive, and it's like it's not gonna be as much. But if you can re-enter like when the starting stack is like 25 blind, obviously you're gonna have like a lot more chances and spot to bust, so you're gonna be able to re-enter more, you know. So I think it's quite I don't know, it's tough. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, depends. It's difficult. Like, I know, like Rob and like the Party Poker Millions, we wanted to make it no re-entry before, like last year, but then everybody was like, they need a re-entry if they travel, and it's like the pros, they're like, it's tough to like please everyone. You know, it's kind of also understandable if you go to like a trip which takes like 10 or 12 hours to go, and you like only get one chance. It's not the trip is not as worth it for a lot of the grinders as well, you know. Then you're just gonna make the trip, especially if like other tournaments offer it, then you're just gonna make the trip somewhere where they offer a re-entry for you to be able to play on like 1A, 1B, and so on, you know. So it's
No, I hear that. I just wish side events would step up and take the place, you know. So if you bust the main, you still know you have 4 different tournaments that are going to be good prize pools on the side. You know, that would be the approach I would take, but I'm not the target market of these big events either. So it's not really up to me. It's up to the valuable players you want to play, you know, the recreational players that'll have a good experience, and then the pros that are doing this as their career. Like those are the markets, not me. So it's tough.
Tough. For sure. It's definitely tough because like if you, I don't know, a lot of tournaments are offering it, and like people are like, I think like people are kind of complaining about it, but on the other hand, they're always gonna play the tournament with the bigger prize pool anyways, you know, because
see, that's it.
Like, it brings huge prize pool, and that's what everybody wants as well. So it's like
that's the competing pressure, is the prize pool, like the guarantee amount, and the prize pool is just such a big factor in marketing, and it's interesting because it's not just for recreational players, but it's the most important part for pros as well. Like they'll look at the guarantee.
But I mean, like, I think for recreational player too, for amateur players, you know, if there's like a tournament with double the guarantee and re-entries, you're definitely gonna play that one. If you have, like, let's say you're in Vegas and there's like a freeze out with 250k guarantee and a re-entry with 500k guarantee or 750k guarantee, obviously you're gonna play the re-entry tournament, you know, because the prize pool is gonna get bigger. So
right. Is that how you make decisions?
Like that much about it is that it kind of like this towards the game a little bit is like you can't put pressure on people early on, or if you have like a spot which is really close and re-entry is open, you're like, oh, whatever, you know, it's like 50-50, let's go. You just gamble a little bit more, and like the game is a little bit different when you know you can re-enter in some spots, you know.
Yes. Yeah, so it's, I mean, I think about the World Series of Poker main event. Like, imagine if the main event was a re-entry. The prize pool would be insane. But, like, I understand people's gripe about re-entries because, yeah, like, every time you enter, you're effectively increasing your percentage chance of winning the tournament. Not necessarily your profitability. Like, you're not making yourself more profitable by re-entering. But you are going to win bullet 1 X percentage of the time, bullet 2 X percentage of the time. So it'll be a higher frequency, right? And if an event has merit, if it has prestige, if it has importance, you should only get one shot, like you do in sports, like the Masters, right? Or for an Olympic medal, you can't just like pay $1 million and run again, you know. But in something like the stock market, for example, you could just drop as much money as you want to like keep competing, and that's legitimate, you know. So those two artifacts to me like really pull at each other, and I just hope that poker has more to money. More to it than just the money. And I think we see it in a few specific instances. But what do you think about the prestige of poker? Do you feel prestige? Do you think there's a chance of poker where we play for titles more than we play for money? Or is that kind of played out?
I think it's both for sure. I mean, like, it's definitely like very prestigious tournaments, and like winning is definitely something you just have to like, so both are important. And I think that's why they let people re-enter, because they just like add to the prize pool as well, right? If some guy enter like 4 times, he contributed so much money to the prize pool that even if he has more chance of winning, it's kind of like it's an acceptable deal, you know. The guy has more chance of winning, but he puts 5 times the buy-in. So, and actually, like, if he's a good player, usually the later you enter, like, he also has should be having a lower ROI in some extent, you know, because they should have. So every entry should be like making less money than the first one, even if he still
Yes.
makes money. So it's like, I think that's a decent trade-off, but I totally understand. I feel like I think the World Series main event is gonna stay freeze out forever, and I think that's good that the World Series are having more freeze out tournaments. And it also makes much more sense for them because they have like a lot more tournaments, and there's like so many tournaments in Vegas, so it's not like players are gonna things like tournaments to play. That's like, I think that's one of the bigger issue for like the millions and so on, is usually it's a big festival, and like so there's like not that many events for players to play, right? So they're gonna play like the main high order. I mean, so we're gonna play like 4 or 5 events. So being able to play like 2 or 3 times the event with the biggest value of it makes a big difference if you're gonna decide to travel somewhere or not. But like, that's also like, that's one of the main problem, I think. Besides that, and also obviously the prize pool and the guarantee is like, it's difficult to. I think like the World Series main event is so huge anyways already that it's like doesn't make a big difference. But if like for some tournaments it can matter a lot if there's a lot of entry, deep stuff. Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the bigger events you've been playing too, because at least when I first got to meet you, first got the opportunity to meet you, I don't remember you hopping into a bunch of 25Ks and 50Ks and stuff. I remember you playing a lot of 10Ks and 5Ks, but I've noticed recently you've been playing a lot more of these high roller events, taking second place in one here in December in Prague for $500,000, I think it was, right? €500,000.
Yeah.
So what's the difference like between playing like a 5K or 10K main event and a 25K with a relatively smaller pool? I find that world fascinating, so I want to hear your take on it.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure, and it's like, but to be honest, actually, I like to play the main event better. And the main event is the best, It's because you play against so many different players, and you like meet new players, and like, hey, 125K is nice, but you already know pretty much everyone already,
Right. Yeah.
And, it's also like, I think like you kind of have to adapt a lot more when you play like a smaller event with a bigger field, because there's players from like the Colossus I won at Kings. It was sick, man. There was like good players and like players who have like, I don't know, there's like so many different kind of players, and you have to like be able to, especially when you get move table fast, you have to be able to assess what kind of players they are like really, really quick. So it's like takes a lot of it's really hard in that way. You have no idea what people can do in some spots, and it's like, and it's super tough. I mean, obviously playing the 25K is like insanely tough as well because everybody is so good, but at least you're like, they're really good, and
right, yeah,
you kind of have an idea of what they're gonna do in some spots, right? Even if they're like well balanced and so on, and they're gonna play much more GTO than anything else. But when you play like the 500 Colossus, it's like, can be anything happen at your table. You have to like be able to know like what kind of guy that guy is. Like, he raised like 5 hands in a row because he has it, or just because he's like gambling super hard. And all the time, it's like, if you don't know the guy, it's like really difficult.
Well, and that's probably a spot where guys like you or Negranu or Hellmuth, or guys that have spanned a long career, would have a big edge because you've played main events with thousands of players for 15 years. Whereas I think as some of these new, who people would consider best players in the world, they're usually playing these small high roller fields against GTO players and really good at that mathematical foundational part of the game. But I imagine like you'd really get to shine in a field like the Colossus, where you got to fire through 5,000 people, and you got to figure out which 500 are on tilt and which 500 are going to net it up, and everything in between.
Yeah, of course, it's really hard. And actually, it's like, it's basically like you really don't have to worry so much about playing GTO. It's like much harder. You can like, you're never gonna play against those guys again probably in your life, So if you play with them, you're playing with them for like 30 minutes. It doesn't really matter. Like, doesn't matter if you balanced or not. But if you play like 25Ks and you play a lot, you kind of have to be like, you have to play closer to GTO most of the time. But in the Colossus, it's like you can totally like raise the guy big blind like 5 times from the small blind. If he falls every time, it doesn't really matter. It's not gonna free bet like more often just because you raise it every time or so on. I mean, depends on the guys obviously, but it's like, but yeah, it's super tough to find like which players are like on tilt and like have no chance of getting even, or which guys are like playing super tight, or like guy in between. It's like it's pretty tough, but that's like that's also like that's also interesting and exciting. You know, you have to adapt on the fly and like take the best decision. And actually, that's like also where it's like really important not to use your phone so much, because you can have so much valuable information against those guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. So we have an interesting hand
It's
here.
also fun. So sorry, I was gonna say it's fun because a lot of players they like display so much emotion. You know, when they play those small tournaments, it's like obviously like people playing 25K, they enjoy playing and winning, but it's not like they're gonna jump out when they win a hand or like
Right, yeah,
you know it doesn't really like they barely smile when they win a hand. Whereas like some of those guys is like, I don't know, it's like the tournament of their life when they're in deep. You know, it's really cool to see all the emotion, the excitement, and like everybody's always excited when you're in deep, but in those kind of fields, you know, when somebody plays like tournament once in a while and he wins deep, it's like a dream. So it's like it's really cool to see, I think.
I remember those tournaments in my life, like the 300. It was a $300 freeze out. It was once a month, and it was at a casino called Grey Eagle in Calgary. They probably still do it. So every once in a while, I'd take the 2-hour drive from my hometown to go play this event. And I was online playing like 22s, 33s, whatever. But I've never played a tournament so serious. There was just sunglasses and hoodies and headphones, and people were hunkered in, man, because it's a huge, $300 is $12K for the win. That's just a really big deal. Whereas when you walk by the 25Ks, like you say, everyone's chatting, they're talking about whatever. It's like very relaxed and chilled out. It is reversed that way. It seems like the higher stakes you go, the more chilled out it is, which is, it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean they chill out, but they're all like really focused and all very well prepared. You know, they just don't really show so much emotion on the higher stages of the game. It seems like,
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. So we have a hand here that I pulled up for us. Can you pull it up on your screen? I'm just gonna go through it with you live. So just get it open here, and then let me know when you're ready, and we'll play it at the same time.
I got it.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Nikita raising the gun.
We have loose Leon, and I've seen you play at Kings quite a bit. I see you have the Kings patch there, so I assumed you're close with Leon.
Yeah, I'm fine with Leon. I'm really lucky to be his friend. He's really cool guy. He really loves the game of poker. He's doing so much for poker, so it's great. And like Kings is such a great place to play. It's like amazing. I think it's like actually you can get this feeling at Dusty Down too, and it's like the only place you play where they like really like appreciate you being a poker player and coming to all the casinos you play. It's like beautiful or wonderful place, but they couldn't really care less if you were there or not, But like Kings and Dusty Down, they kind of built for poker, so it's like feels special in some way to be there,
Yeah. So let's pause it here. We're on Sam Grafton, right? I'm at about 50 seconds.
Nikita raises 2 blinds, and then Leon shoves. How much is that? 40.
Nikita is blind raise under the gun. Okay.
Oh, he blind raised?
Yeah, and Leon shoves.
Oh, how do you know you blind raised? Did you say it?
It says in the commentary. Yeah, it says in the commentary.
Oh shit, I didn't see the commentary. Sorry.
Yeah. So I believe it's a blind raise. Leon shoves for 522,000, which, is 40 blinds or so, right? I think.
Yeah, more even. Yeah, 44.
But with the min raise, it's 22 blinds effective, because the blinds basically doubled.
Okay. I didn't know he blind raised actually. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Yeah. So now Sam Grafton in the big blind with ace-5, and he's 1.8 million chips deep against Nikita, who hasn't seen his hand. I'm pretty sure that's what happened here. I mean, we're going to go with that assumption anyways.
So Leon saw his hand, right?
Leon saw his hand, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's different. It's also tough to know, like what kind of mood was Leon on, if it was, like, gamblish or not. Because, I mean, like, sometimes he obviously likes to gamble a lot, but it's not like he's going to shove any two for like, 24 blinds, 22 blinds?
Right. This is one of those things where you probably want to know, like, is there a cash game starting or something like that? Like you need to make a live read as to like how Leon's feeling. I would imagine.
Yeah. I think like how has he been playing as well? It's like can be vastly different. Has he been playing the last half an hour? Like is he like you lose a big part and he's on tilt, or it's just like it's really really important to know. I think because it's like he can be shoving like super wide or like fairly tight and like. I guess he will always shove king queen, but like
yeah. Well, and this is the 25K super high roller, and now Sam Grafton in the big blind has ace-5, and he's thinking about it. So what do you think about Sam Grafton's situation with ace-5?
It's a really shitty spot here, I think. I really hate it because, like, I mean, obviously Leon is shoving really wide, but like ace-5 is not even that great against a wide range of hand, and like.
Let's play it here, by the way. Let's keep it going. Let's click play.
Right.
We can assume shoves. We have to fold. Yeah. Crushing it. And then when Makita, we can assume shoves. I think that would be my.
I mean, I don't have the guts to call here. I would just nit fold and hope it wasn't broadcast. Well,
I mean, it's not so needy for. I would probably fold more often than not. I think, like, I don't know.
We can of course see he's right against Leon. He's ahead, but like, you know, he doesn't know that.
But I mean, how much ahead is he against his range? Obviously, his head is not that ahead. Depending how loose Leon shoves, I mean, ace-5 is never that great, you know. It's like.
Yeah. Want a snap call from Makita with the ace queen.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Mikita behind. If there was no Mikita behind, it's pretty much easier call. But like, Mikita is like covering Grafton as well, so basically he's like risking 60 blind if he's wrong, right? I mean, it's not that likely, but like I think both factors combined, and the fact that he's never gonna be crushing Leon so much, and he's like, and if Mikita has an end, he's pretty crushed. It's like not I don't know. It's tough though. It's always tough though.
Yeah. That's a pretty wild bust out.
He had like 20 or 40 blind, it would make like much more sense, I think.
Right.
Like, especially because if it's a re-entry, if he has like 20 blind, it's like the easy spot to get in, you know.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's tough.
It is a sick one. I thought it was an interesting hand.
Yeah, pretty sick. I didn't know Mikita raised blind actually. Yeah, for sure, it makes.
Well, see, the thing I'm not sure if Leon is blind, to be honest. It'll show on the commentary for people watching the podcast, but we'll just assume that
he say that Leon was blind, or
I don't know. I missed it.
Sometimes you would, but probably not that often. I mean, if you shove blind, I guess you have to call ace-5. But
have you played any like big cash games with Leon and stuff? Do you have any wild Leon stories?
Yeah, Leon. I played like I don't know, man. You see so many wild stuff with Leon doing online. You can find online already. I mean, like,
right.
Played some cash game with him, yeah, for sure. And it's like he really has like so many different speeds. It's hard to play sometimes because it's like so like you never know like what kind of gear is on, you know.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's really, really unpredictable. Actually, it's really fun to watch as well because you never know what he's gonna do in a hand either.
Yeah.
It's like
there was the cash game just a couple weeks ago at the Millions UK, the one where he got second in the mini main, and Rob was in the game and Leon was in the game, and I love when you put those two together in a cash game because it just feels like it's gonna pop off at any moment. You know, like Leon's gonna fight and Rob is like not gonna lay down easy, and it's just I want to see more Leon Rob Young cash games.
Cash games?
Yes, I do.
I didn't watch that cash game. Yeah, I was with like Sam, and like it seemed like a really cool one. Yeah.
You know what they should do? They should do a Dust Till Dawn versus Kings. Like Leon brings his two best, and Rob brings his two best, and they just fight 3-on-3, and like whoever ends with more money wins. That'd be good, man.
I mean, 3-on-3 at a table is weird though. I mean,
6-max cash game? No, it's just a cash game. Like everyone plays for themselves.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because even if you win, you know, even if you stack your teammate, your team's still at the same dollar amount. So, whatever. I don't know. It's just a thought, anyways. But ElkY, it was really great to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Yeah, no problem, Jimmy. It was cool.
True story to the people watching the podcast. We tried to do this like 5 nights in a row, and ElkY was like so patient and like, okay, this isn't working. Like this isn't working. Like this is literally our 6th attempt. So I really appreciate you making the effort to carve out a few hours for this podcast, ElkY. And
no problem.
You're killing it, man. So best of luck going forward. Where can people follow along with your journey? Where's the best spot?
I guess Twitter, Instagram, and the regular stuff. I should post a little bit more. I haven't been posting all that much lately, you know. But
you've been winning all the money, man.
Yeah. But Twitter, ElkY Poker, and Instagram the same. I guess it's where
awesome
most of the action is. And thanks, Jamie. And what's the next live stop I'm gonna see you at?
I'm on the Twitch streets, man. I'm just purely like streaming, making content. So I don't know, dude. It might be a while for a live tournament, but if I need a break, I'll head out there and I'll make sure to let you know.
All right, cool. Sounds good, man.
All right.
Take care.
Cheers. Talk to you later.
Yep.
Big thanks to ElkY for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate you taking the time. What a legend. Great to talk to him, and I hope I get to talk to him again in the future. So before you go, I got one more thing, and that is our weekly competition here on the podcast, hashtag JSPokerHero. All right, so what we're going to do is give away a $215 Party Poker Million ticket, 1 million guaranteed every week. And it's going to be sort of a question where the first person to get the correct answer wins. I've seen on some of the recent podcasts the guesses under hashtag JSPokerHero, and we have some very regular listeners to the show that are very engaged, and they put their guess, and then there's like 15 people that copy the same answer. Not going to work, man, okay? The first one to guess is going to win the ticket. Keep it in mind, all right? So the question this week is going to be, I mean, so you're going to have to use your mind a little bit on this one. How many entrants do you think there will be in the Party Poker Million? You have to guess by, at the latest, Friday night, okay? We're going to cut it off at the Saturday because there's more phases on Saturday, but Friday night is going to be the last day that you can guess in this competition, and then we're going to choose a winner, and you're going to get a ticket into the $215 million for the following week, okay? So that's how it's going to work. Whoever wins the ticket, you're the representative of this podcast. If podcast run good is a thing, which I've heard this podcast run good story in other shows, it might be your time. You could win the tournament. It's possible. Anyone can do it. I've never done it, but you could win the million. It's possible. So 2 people have won in last week's competition where we asked, what's Matt's career longest drive? Now, the answer was around 340, 350 yards with a cart path bounce. Any of you that play golf will know you hit a drive off the cart path at some point in your life. So around 340 was Matt's answer. We had 2 people guess 310 yards. So RYE_EZ, you were the first one, also with the tip. Seems a little dark. Yes, I'll get the lights going next time. Cheers. And the second guess, I don't play golf, but I'm taking a wild guess at 310 yards from Michael Bertrand. Both of you tie for the best guess. So both of you are winning tickets. There it is, man. Both of you are going to be our representatives in the Party Poker Million, so please try your best. Do the podcast proud. Thanks for your guessing. That's going to be it for the show this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm personally on a holiday with my families right now. We're going to head down to London for a few days before they fly back home and I get on the grind. So looking forward to a few days off, but I'm excited about next week because we're going to have Mike Sexton on the podcast. Talk about a legend of poker. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I need to think about some questions to ask Mike Sexton, man. I mean, what a legend. I got to figure it out. I'm gonna really think about this. But if you're excited for that, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're watching this, whether it's iTunes or YouTube or what have you. And that's going to be it from me. Thanks so much for watching the podcast. But until next week, we'll see you later.